Alright, I don't know if anybody is watching yet, but this is the broadcast to the game Gone Home. It's another walkthrough story game, and I'm just going to kind of run through this game rather quickly. And to do that, I'm going to start a new game and turn on some modifiers. The great thing about this is that you can kind of get on here and cheat a little bit. You can turn all the lights on, unlock all the doors, which we're going to do that. We are not going to enable commentary. I just got that trophy. There's a few more that I still have to get, so go ahead and start the game here. It's an interesting story game. You play Katie, who has been abroad in Europe, and she's coming home. No one is currently there. Adds a little bit of the creepiness factor, I guess, to the game. So very interesting. I would say that this game is not as good as Dear Esther or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I think those games are way better.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so, love you. See you soon. Bye.
Sam, and really going through the house, we're kind of picking up the story of Sam and kind of what's been going on during the last year that her sister's been away, through these little tidbits of information that you pick up along the house. So you start here on the front porch, and of course there's your bags there. And so you just kind of gotta go and find these little clues. So there's a note on the front door, and like I said, I turned the modifiers on so everything's unlocked. It makes things very easy. Christmas duck. We are just going to put him right there. You can pick up a lot of things in the game. The house is rather big. You can open drawers and do all of that fun stuff. So we'll just kind of run through it. And this is the first part.
Dear Katie, so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house.
Yeah,
I'm in a new school.
I would say that, well,
and my big sister being gone for a year doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't feel real.
I would say
but
that
I'm not going to let it
Everybody's
faze
Gone to
me.
the Rapture has a longer
I used to tell you
gameplay
everything,
overall.
and if I can't do it in person, because you're off gallivanting around who knows where, I'll tell it to this journal, just like I was talking to you.
So, Dear Esther is probably the shortest of the three games. This one, I would say, would be the second longest, and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is probably the longest if you do everything there is to do in the game. So there is a trophy for coming through and turning on all of the water faucets. Not really sure why. Oh, and by the way, welcome back. Glad to see you. I told you I'd eventually get a game that would be worth broadcasting, and I did that. I am not able to go through everything in this house, but there's a lot to go through. But the house is pretty massive, so I'm going to show you a couple of little, secrets here. There is actually a lot of closets to go through. Board games. There are 3 of them throughout the house. You don't need to know these things. There's a little secret passage through here. If you click on it, little creepy. You come down here, you've got this whole thing going on. I'm trying to, oh, I love that you can throw things though. You just kind of throw things around. Oh, and here you'll find the attic key to get you into the attic. Lots of secret passages.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
I've played through this game a couple of times. You know, I will tell you, I still get a little lost and confused when it comes to just kind of the sheer size of it all. It is a rather big house, and you gotta kind of just look for little random things laying around.
Katie, you know how Mom and Dad are. Not exactly super open-minded
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
About things. It feels like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen if they did? You know Dad's joke about the nunnery that he'd tell whenever you brought boys around the old house? I wonder where he'd want to send me.
So the story is really about Sam and her relationship with Lonnie. Not so much about Katie so much as you're just really trying to figure out what is going on. There's quite a bit of interactivity with items throughout the house. Again, it's a very large house. Don't forget to open the refrigerator, because that's important. You'll find a lot of random cassette tapes lying around that you can put into the tape players. Some of the music's interesting. Again, I really like to throw things in this game. One of the little Easter eggs is that ball up there. You'll want to grab one of the items and kind of knock it down. And if you take this into Sam's bedroom and you throw it in the basketball hoop behind her door, then it unlocks a special journal entry, which is the most annoying journal entry ever. Which I think, let's see, that's upstairs, and I'm still on the main floor. Again, the house is pretty massive. There are some secret panels too that you kind of need to look for. But yeah, there's just a whole lot. Yeah, the environment in this game is very creepy when you play through it the first time. You know, you've kind of got the thunder and the lightning and, you know, that whole thing. And you'll hear these little creaky noises. And but there's that basketball hoop that I was talking about. And this will unlock the mittens journal, which is super annoying.
Meow,
so,
meow.
yeah.
Meow, 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 meow,
There's
meow,
cats
meow, meow.
on the television.
Meow, 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 meow.
Okay, we can turn
Meow,
that
meow,
off. Can we turn that off? No, we can't.
meow,
It is
meow, meow.
super annoying.
meow, 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 meow.
But there is a trophy for that.
Meow, 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 meow,
Lots of little
Meow, meow,
cool
meow,
things
meow.
around the house.
meow, meow, meow,
You
meow.
just really gotta look and kind of pay attention. At first I thought this was blood and I really freaked out. And then I saw that no, it is hair color.
Lonnie brought her
Also
hair dye
unlocks
over
a journal
today.
entry.
She said, I need to fix these roots. Think you could help? Dyeing hair is weirdly intimate. I don't know if I've touched someone else's scalp before. That's pretty intimate, right? It felt intimate. We looked into the mirror together after, and I expected her to say something about how it looked crappy or good or whatever. But that's when she said, "You're so beautiful." And she was looking at me. Right in that moment, I wanted to say something, but I waited. and the moment was gone.
Yeah, I think when people play the game, it is very confusing because it does give you that very serious, okay, this is going to be scary vibe. You know, like I said, you've got the thunder and lightning. When you come into the house, if you don't turn those modifiers on, everything's kind of dark, and you hear a lot of creaking, and it almost sounds like maybe somebody's typing at times. You know, so it definitely has that creepiness factor, which is, you know, just odd because it's not creepy at all. And again, if you come back in to Mom and Dad's closet here and go straight to the back wall, there is a panel. And that kind of takes you down into a part of the basement. And you have this map, and it shows you kind of where this hidden panel is. And then come here. Sometimes when you click on these, they don't open, so you kind of have to do it again and just kind of move out of the way. A little shortcut into the library. Yeah, you know, I think that there was a lot of potential with this game. Not that I mind the overall story. I think that the story was okay, but I think that maybe it would have done better as a horror game, since I kind of already set it up for that. Inside of this folder on the shelf, you get the code, and that will be the code to a locked file cabinet in the study. Right here, this first door is normally locked, but I turn those modifiers on, so it is not locked. You can kind of interact with the fan. That fan sounds awful, so we're not going to let that go through. There are just so many doors. It's kind of ridiculous.
Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations.
You know, I think that I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more overall with the gameplay. The story, like I said, the story's okay, but I feel like if maybe they would have kind of gone with something a little more sinister, it would have been more fitting of the environment. But they did not do that. It's really easy to miss a lot of the things in the game, just because there are just so many drawers to open, so many doors. There are secret panels, which I think there's, yeah, one right here. So right as you come in to this room, there's this panel here. And that would be Sam's locker combination. Now when you go into Sam's room, there is a key in the locker that you need to get into the attic. And of course the attic is the final place of where you have to be. I think probably one of the next games that I want to do at some point would be Firewatch. It looks really interesting. Yeah, I don't know why these doors don't always function the way they should. Why is this light off? I'm pretty sure the light was not off when I left. Alright. So, and this is Sam's locker, and here's a picture of Lonnie.
Lonnie came over today.
Key.
But
She's a bad girl,
was
obviously.
different. She was sitting at my desk chair, and she wouldn't look at me. Finally, I asked her what was going on. She said she felt like she'd done something wrong that night in the city. Like I must think... But I said no. There was nothing wrong. I just wanted to say... But I couldn't find the words. It felt like I was gonna cry, but I wasn't sad. She got up and sat next to me on the bed. I looked at her. Lonnie, do you think you could ever And that's when she kissed me.
Okay, so if you haven't guessed, anybody who's watching has not seen this game. And here's a little condom here. Guess mom and dad are practicing safe sex because they want no more daughters. If you're kind of paying attention to the story, Sam is obviously in love with a girl, which kind of going around the house, you'll see quite a few Bibles. So it's kind of implied that mom and dad are religious and, something they'd not be okay with. So I guess in that sense, the creators felt like the game was a bit controversial. I would say in this day and age, probably a lot less controversial, but, that's what they were kind of going for, I guess. Maybe make some conversations happen with that. And again, I guess I was a little disappointed in that storyline. Not because I disapprove. I definitely don't care. And I think that it's kind of funny that it's still so seen as so controversial in a lot of places, in kind of this time period. But I just feel like, it does have an overall creepiness factor. You have all these weird secret passages, and you have this environment, and I really just felt like they probably could have went further with the game. The attic is the last place that you want to go to. I think we should probably go back and explore basement. Yeah, I mean, the first time I played it, I would say that it had that newness, it had that, pretty exciting, thing behind it, because you didn't quite know what was going to happen. You see the story unfold, and, that was great. But I think that, these little creepy elements kind of got the adrenaline pumping, and it had more of an excitement factor. But as you play through it several times, you really see that it's not that creepy at all. So, it does kind of lose its luster after a while. But I will say that the redeeming fact, they do have those trophies, that it kind of gives it that replayability, if for no other reason to get those trophies. Being a PlayStation Plus member, I waited until this game was on sale. Kind of glad that I did, because I think I paid like $5-6 for it. I would say it's definitely worth it at that price. I don't know that I would pay, $20. I wouldn't say that it has that much of an appeal long term to spend that kind of money on it. Firewatch definitely looks interesting. I'm kind of excited to give that a try at some point. It seems like it has a creepy storyline, but at the same time it looks pretty good visually, and got some funny elements from what I've seen from the previews. I'm just walking around aimlessly at this point because I'm trying to get back into the basement, and I'm like, how do I do this? I thought there was a way down from this floor, but I think I have to go back upstairs. Oh, see, you got lucky. You got it for free. That's awesome. It'd be nice if I got more free games, but I've noticed that there's not too much that I find super appealing when I look through the free games. I guess partially because I play a lot of weird stuff. And there are just an insane amount of doors. And so there's a house to explore, which makes it, I guess, you know, interesting in terms of, you know, trying to find all the trophies and completing all of that. I have a few more that I have to do, but you can't use modifiers, and I don't feel like I've learned the layout of the house enough to do them, because it's really just trying to rush through and beat the game as quickly as possible without any modifiers, and I don't feel I could do that at this point. So, eventually, I will find my way around this house. It gets very difficult. There's too many doors, too many different places to go. Oh, and there is a little secret button up here that kind of opens these bookshelves. There we go. Now we can get... And the basement is just an extra large space filled with a bunch of stuff. I would say that Sam has definitely left her mark all over this house. You can tell the parents aren't, they probably work a lot, and so they're not in the house too often. That is not where I want to go. Let's see. Oh, and down further. Yeah, see, the first time I played it, I definitely felt like there were lights. Well, and you just saw when I was in Sam's room, I have the modifiers on. I have all lights are supposed to be on. And when I left that room and I went back in, you know, several of those lights, well, all
They
the
tell you to stick with the group on field trips, Katie.
So,
There's a reason for
I
that.
don't know.
Lonnie and I snuck
Because
off on the side
wiring,
paths at Multnomah Falls and got a little lost.
I don't really understand
Okay,
why
a lot
the
lost.
creators kind of
For
did that.
hours. Right
Be on
before the
your
bus
toes.
left, we found a trail and came running down the path, soaked and covered in mud, shouting for the bus not to leave. The school called home. Mom and Dad said, "You didn't get into trouble like this before you met that Lonnie girl." But I don't think they know about us. The kids at school, though, I'm really afraid that's a whole other story. Stick with the group, Katie. Stick with the group.
And when you play through the game the first time, when you come into this room, this definitely adds to the creepiness factor. I had to turn the brightness up a whole lot, but normally you would not be able to see into this room no matter how much you try, because you'll see the string for the light. You don't even realize what it is, but it'll tell you it doesn't work. And so, and this is weird, this back wall here. You would think that there's something behind that wall, or, you know, it's creepy. I'm sure they had some motivating factor for doing that whole thing. When you try to grab this piece of paper, oh, it actually worked this time. Interesting. Oh, it says, okay, not reading any more of that. But before, it wouldn't even let me grab that paper. So that's interesting. If you didn't know, also, there is a crouch feature. If you hit the circle button, I don't think that it makes it very clear in the game that you can actually do that. When you pick up certain items and books, you'll find little random things maybe taped to the back of them. There's a lot of newspaper clippings, and from what I've gathered is that Sam and Katie's grandfather, who owned a pharmacy, lived in this house, left it to the dad as a part of his will. Mom is Canadian. Those are her citizenship papers. The facial rendering in the game for the pictures is, you know, creepy in itself. But yeah, there's a whole lot of little things. So I would
I'm
say it's
so
really
stupid
easy to
sometimes.
miss things the first
I was
time
telling
you
Lonnie
play
that
through
I got
this
into
game.
my college summer program thing. And I was all making plans like, you should come visit me, stay in my dorm room. But she said,
I agree.
Sam, I ship
think,
out on June 6th.
They kind of throw it in there.
was
They
like,
make it pretty clear that
ship
the
out?
parents are
To
not okay
where?
with this relationship.
She said,
and
to basic training.
I feel like
What did you think I was doing all that ROTC stuff
maybe
for?
they beat her or something, and
I
that's why
guess
she ran
she's
away.
been planning to join the army right after high
That
school
would have
since
been
she was
a lot
like
more believable.
12.
Or they tried to send her away to
And
some
I guess
like,
she's really going to do it.
religious camp that's
So
going
I
to
was
save
like,
her
after
from
graduation,
herself
I'm
and
just
her,
never going to
her
see you again?
homosexual ways.
She said,
I
let's
feel
just
like
have
that
fun while we
definitely would
can.
have been a little more believable, but I didn't see throughout the story any like real clear indication that mom and dad were these
When you live in one place your whole
absolutely
life,
terrible
your next door neighbor is
people.
kind of like your default friend. And Daniel only got weirder over the years. So moving away has been a good excuse
And
to,
then we
like,
hear this little
not
story
see
about
him
her
anymore.
friend Daniel.
But he
that
did always
she
have the
grew
good
up with.
Nintendo games. Maybe I'll
And
give him
I
a
feel a
call.
little bad for Daniel. Sounds like Daniel has a crush on him, and she's just like, oh, he's a creep, and I don't like him, and he's just even creepier. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but you should probably tell him that and not just avoid him and just say, hey, we've grown up, we've kind of drifted apart, our personalities are very different now, and we should probably spend less time together, and I'm sorry. Ooh, panel. Forgot about that one.
At Todd's brother's place after the show, there was only a futon to sleep on, so Lonnie and I shared it. The lights went out. I was turned toward her. My eyes started to adjust, and then I could see she was looking at me, too. In the dark, she smiled. My heart was beating so fast. I rolled over. I felt so, I don't know, nervous. After a minute, she put her arm around me and was so close and whispered in my ear, I really like you. I just nodded my head, and I really hope she could tell. I really hope that she meant what I think she did. I felt like a shook-up can of soda ever since. I hope we have the chance to talk before I explode.
Yeah, there's, like I said, they threw some scary elements in here, definitely. And I don't think that it just really complements the story. But I think they did that just to kind of get people more excited in the game. Maybe partially because they knew that the overall story just was kind of maybe a little lackluster. I mean, I think overall the environment, they did a really good job. It definitely looks very realistic. You got a smoke detector on the ceiling. A lot of different patterns and textures. The interactivity is good. I would say that was something that Dear Esther certainly lacked. I just liked that story a lot more. I think they could have definitely gone a lot further with the story in this game. But yeah, you'll notice that there's a lot of flickering lights. It's obviously an old house, so that's probably a part of it. They just want that adrenaline pumping, so maybe you won't focus so much on the overall story and feel so let down. I don't know, I just think that there was a better, maybe more that they could have done. Doesn't look like mom and dad cooked too much food. At least not real cooking. There's a lot of potato chips and a lot of crap. Well, they have some sliced peaches and corn. Black beans. Alright. I kind of like that the kitchen's in such disarray. The overall house feels lived in, definitely cluttered though. Kind of all this paperwork and everything, I think would give anybody anxiety if you're even the slightest bit OCD. Up to the attic at this point, so I am going to go and grab the Christmas stuff. He's in bad shape, this guy. Because there's another trophy that you can get for having this Christmas duck and putting him in his home. And I hope the quality of my video is a lot better. I went ahead and took the PlayStation off the Wi-Fi and hooked it up to an actual Ethernet cable, so hoping that it would improve my broadcast. So you bring Christmas Duck up here and you put him in his little home, and that will get you a trophy. There are journal entries, like different things you click on will advance the story. There's no particular order you have to do them in, which is, you know, kind of nice. But I feel like you get a lot of parts of stories at the weirdest time, and so you kind of just, it blows the whole story for me. I feel like they should have kind of made it a little more organized and let the story play out slowly, because you can run through this whole house and click on one bit of the story and you're like, okay, I know what this is all about. So I guess that's a little disappointing. Alright, so here we have come to the end. We're in the creepy, creepy attic, which you would think the thunder would be a lot louder here, but it's not. So once you click on this journal, the game is over.
Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. And that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me, and you'll just know that I am where I need to be. I love you so much, Katie. I'll see you again, someday.
I don't know, I felt like the ending was a bit of a cop-out, but overall, I just kind of ran through this. It took 30 plus minutes, so I feel like that's a significant amount of time just to run through it quickly. And like I said, there are quite a few trophies, so it does kind of stretch the time out. I believe you did, and I appreciate that, so feel free to send me a message anytime, because, again, since this game, I don't have anything to really broadcast, although I was thinking about everybody's going to the Rapture again, just because there are so many things I still have left to do in this game. And I hear the trophies are pretty glitchy. I've had a few issues with them myself. But I apparently have not even come close to finishing that game to get all of the trophies and everything. The estimated time was over 8 hours of gameplay, which is definitely significant. I've missed a whole lot. Alright, well, it has been fun. Thank you for watching. That is it. That is the end of Gone Home. And hopefully in the near future I can do Firewatch. Other than that, unless I want to broadcast, you know, some golf, I got nothing right now. Alright, so have some great holidays, and Thanks again.